Well, here it is, the engine bay box unit template. So we'll be putting a rounded profile on the edge. This is kind of like a priceless pile actually. And a big thank you to all those people who placed an order and got some merchandise. Thanks very much for your good support. Well, here it is, the engine bay box unit template. This has come up all right, I think, and I do like the look of it. It's one thing to put lines on a bit of paper with measurements, but until you have something in front of you that represents or is the real thing, you just don't exactly know, right? And I think this is going to be good in place. I'll explain some of the details, but just generally to say, it's a fairly decent size and that will enable a lot of space in behind there for the engine to breathe and keep cool. I will be having a vent that I'll be able to hide under one of the treads for the ladder. You won't see that, but keeping that engine cool is very much an important consideration. And also, when it comes time to do any work on the engine, this will be able to be removed. But once this is away from the engine, as you'll see, there is a lot of room around the engine to work on it. That's important. So I've put a lot of thought into this, and one of the main reasons for that is because I actually want to have this as a hinged box that I'll be able to actually raise and lower to get access to the engine. That involved quite a lot of time to make sure that I was covering everything in order to be able to not only get this to fit, but to actually get it to hinge, coming up and down, back in place in the right position. No easy task really, but I think I've got it. The proof of the pudding, of course, will be once this is in place. And just to point out some of the details, so I'll be using 12mm marine ply for the main construction. I'll be putting rounded edges on both corners. It will be beefed up with rosewood behind it in key places that will need extra strength. For example, the treads for the ladder, where it's going to be hinging from, and probably some other areas. And of course, everything will be coated in epoxy first, and then this will be painted white, just like many of the other panels inside a Mistress. Also, the whole engine bay, both underneath the cockpit and on all of these panels, which are going to close off the engine bay, will be lined with soundproof insulation. I thought that was going to happen. An extra pair of hands would be nice. This panel that I've just cut up is the front panel for the engine box. Because that's on an angle, I've cut a bevel on the top and the bottom to make a good fit with the sides. Now this box, where the front and the sides meet, that's going to create a 90-degree corner, which obviously would be quite a hazard when it comes to bumping into it. So we'll be putting a rounded profile on the edge. That will be put on the side panels because they're fitted to the outside of the front panel. I've played around with the router. I've already worked out a nice good round profile, and that should be much less of an issue when it comes to kissing it along the way when whoever it is gets too close to that corner underway. Well people, got there. Another panel making fest done. Oh, this is kind of like a priceless pile actually. There are so many different shaped panels here, and seeing them all piled here on top of each other actually is surprising, because as I was making them, I was putting them aside in different places. To see them all here in one heap, whew, that's a relief. Now of course the next thing is to get them all sanded, get the edges all rounded off, and then start the epoxy coating process. And as I have mentioned before, I will be top coating these whilst they're out of Mistress. So 2 coats of epoxy, a coat of the epoxy high build undercoat, and then 2 coats of the polyurethane on top, and then they can go in Mistress. These 12 panels were a great win everybody. Next up they get top coated, plus much more. Well, I've finalised this breakfast bar shelf now that all the epoxy coating is done. And of course, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't. Click the bell so you get the notifications. Check out my website. And as I always say, leave a comment, because I like reading what you have to say.